Shalom Aleichem Morai Vabotai, Shalom Aleichem. Be'ezrat Hashem, in the merit of Tzadik Rabbi Pinto, in the merit of Tzadik Baba Sali, that today it is hilloula. May HaKadosh Baruch Hu Be'ezrat Hashem bless each and every one of our holy kihila with big bracha v'tzlacha, b'siyata dishmaya gedola, v'kadamu v'chetkon v'ziketkon, b'zchut Tzadik Baba Sali, HaKadosh Baruch Hu Be'ezrat Hashem ol panam negit Parasha, negit Shua, and negit Betchanet Teshuvah, negit Beriut. May HaKadosh Baruch Hu Be'ezrat Hashem bring on each and every one of us a personal redemption, a personal geula, and a geula and a redemption for all Klal Am Yisrael. Amen. Today is Sunday, the day of Chesed, as well as the day of the hilloula, like we mentioned, of Baba Sali. So we're thinking of what is the connection between both these two things, and we're thinking about many questions that appear in our mind whenever we reach to such a holy day, such a beautiful hilloula of a tzaddik that his name is locked in our lips on a daily basis. So the question that we had is, we see that in the world there are two types of tzaddikim. There is the type of tzaddik that, like we mentioned, their name is attached in our lips in any given moment. Or whenever a person is in a tzara, is in a stress, whenever a person needs help, whenever a person needs a beracha, whenever a person is trying to connect himself to a bigger source of shefa, they turn to, like Rabbi Pinto, like Baba Sali, like Rabbi Yaakov, like Rabbi Meir Baal HaNes. And then there are other tzaddikim that it's in our nature that their name is not globally recognized. Whenever people are in places of stress, we don't necessarily announce their names. Where some tzaddikim are silent and some tzaddikim are very loud, like Baba Sali. So the question that we had is, what did the tzaddikim that merited to have the whole world mention their name on a daily basis do to achieve so? And on the other side, what did the tzaddikim that, chas v'shalom, to not get asked wrong, were big tzaddikim, did not merit for their name to be in all of our lips? So now, before we even get into what we were thinking of, there are many answers upon this, but we're trying to bring a different perspective on it. There's a beautiful teaching in Arizal, in Sha'ar Kavanot, that explain the word of Elokim. So as we know, in the name of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, there are many different variant intentions we need to have. There's, for example, the Havaya, which is the hidden name of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. There's the Adonut, which is the announced and present name of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, that we can read it, we can say it out loud. So that is one thing. But in the name Elokim, Arizal says that it actually splits to two aspects. One aspect, Chesed, and one aspect, Din. Arizal says the first three letters, Ele, Aleph, Lamed, He, represent the attribute of Chesed, of kindness. Whenever we mention the first three letters of the word Elokim, we are actually referring to the kindness of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, the kind aspect of the King of all kings, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Melech Melech Melech. The last two letters, Yud Mem or Mem Yud, Arizal says are actually letters that represent Din, judgment, where a king always has an aspect of being merciful and being kind and pardoning people and bringing people into a place of redemption and happiness. And a king also has an aspect of judgment, of strength, where whenever a person will do something wrong, he will ignite the judgment, and judgment will be present. Arizal says whenever a person is praying to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, he needs to have the kavanah, he needs to have the intention that at all times he overrides the me, the last two letters of judgment, with the first three letters of Ele. Why? Because if chas v'shalom he will lead the last two letters of Mem Yud, then in his life you will see an aspect of the judgment of the king, where HaKadosh Baruch Hu's judgment perspective will lead and shine and overtake the kindness. So whenever a person is praying to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, he needs to always have in mind that he is referring to the Ele, the first three letters, which are the letters of Chesed, the letters of mercy, the letters of happiness, the letters of the king blessing his nation. This is something about that we actually saw in last week's Parasha, how in the past there were Reshaim that actually used the judgment aspect of HaKadosh Baruch Hu himself to try to bring judgment upon Bnei Israel. And we see this in last week's Parasha with Pharaoh, We see HaKadosh Baruch Hu calls Moshe and Aharon and tells Moshe and Aharon, go to Pharaoh, the smart man, tell him to release Bnei Israel, I'm sending you. Moshe and Aharon, they go to Pharaoh, they tell Pharaoh, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, the creator, Melech Melachim Melachim, sent us to release his kids from slavery. What does Pharaoh answer?
Who is this Elokim?
Me. Who is this Elokim that I don't know that I will listen to? But what is the word that he used? Me. What is me? Mem Yud. What is Mem Yud? It's the two letters of the judgment of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Pharaoh, the smart man, knew that this is the time that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is awakening the chesed, the kindness, and by doing so, he will be forced to release Bnei Israel. So Pharaoh, what did he try to do? He tried to awaken the judgment by saying what? Mi ze Elokim. Who is this God that I don't know who he is, that I never heard of? He did so by doing what? By strengthening the judgment. And that was Pharaoh's method. His method was using HaKadosh Baruch Hu's judgment aspect to further greaten his own goal. And this is even seen in another place. When Bnei Israel were about to be released, and they started to walk through the desert, what did Pharaoh say? Mi ve mi hem olchim. Who and who? These people that are leaving. Why who and who? Mi ve mi. 2 times me. So maybe we can say, he said mi ve mi, 2 times me, in order to awaken the judgment of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, but even mentioning it twice, in order for Bnei Israel to be absorbed by the judgment aspect, and the kindness will fall. And once the kindness will fall, what will happen? They will stay slaves in Egypt, and they will stay in their position. And that is what we see throughout the entire Torah. Ele otot, elu bekirbo. HaKadosh Baruch Hu uses the word ele. The whole releasing of Bnei Israel is using the 3 first letters of Elokim, Aleph, Lamed, A. Why? Moshe and Aharon needed to greaten the chesed, the kindness of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, in order to release Bnei Israel from Egypt. Maybe we could even say something else. Maybe we could even say, as we know, when Pharaoh said, who is this God that I don't never heard of? We know that there are 3 people that listened, and 3 people that they were essentially the advisors of Pharaoh. Who were they? Bilam, Yitro, and Eov. We know that Bilam became Rasha because he agreed with Pharaoh and he pushed Pharaoh to keep Bnei Israel slaves. Yitro ran away and Eov closed his mouth. As we know later on in Eov's life, he suffered with great sufferings. He was a man that if you read the book of Eov, you cannot not cry. We see in one of the Psukim in Eov, what did it say? Eov gets up. He says, Mi lo yoda, who does not know who created all this? Mi lo yoda, mi bara et kol ele. Who can imagine a world that he does not see HaKadosh Baruch Hu in every aspect? But how did he do so? He asked the question, Mi lo yoda, who does not know? And he answers that with ele. Where if Eov needed to repair the fact that he heard me from the mouth of Pharaoh, where Pharaoh was greatening the judgment and trying to bring a judgment aspect on Bnei Israel, and didn't do anything. Eov needed to go through all those judgments, all those sufferings throughout his life, just in order to repair that me that he heard, that he was completely absorbed by. And that's what the Zohar Kadosh says, that at the times of tzarot, at times of sadness, at times of stress, at times of pain, at times of suffering, what should a person do? The Zohar Kadosh says, Sa'um marom enechem, pick up your eyes to the sky, and you will see who created kol ele. But when a person will lift his eyes to the sky, he will see that everything was created by HaKadosh Baruch. But what word does the pasuk use? Ele. That the moment that you will look up to the sky, when you look up to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, direct your kavanah, direct your intention in who? In Ele. What is Ele? The kind aspect of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And another place, Zohar HaKadosh says, whenever a person is at times of stress or pain or suffering or whatever it is, put aside that you have to keep in mind and have the intention of the first 3 letters of Elokim, Aleph Lamed He, Zohar Kadosh says, you do Shema Yisrael. Then when the moment that you will do Shema Yisrael, all the judgment will be broken. Once the judgment will be broken, you will be able to see the kindness of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. If you take the first word of Shema, which is Shema, how do you spell it? Shin,
Shin Mem Ayin.
Mem, Ayin. Shin, Mem, Ayin is also the Rashi Tevot of Se'u, Marom, Enechem. If you want to see kindness in your life, you want all those troubles that are around you to disappear, Se'u, Marom, Enechem, Bir'u, Mi Bara, Kol Ele. Look up to the sky and you will see only Ele. You will see only the kindness of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And that, Rabotai, is a secret of getting rid of tzarot, of getting rid of judgment. Focusing on the first three letters of Elokim, Ele, and completely diminishing the last two letters of Mem Yud, of judgment. As we know, Rabotai, all the tzadikim that devoted their life for the Kahal, that devoted their life for helping one another, that devoted their life for doing kindness within our world, for every person that was in a tzara, that every person was in a suffering, that every person was in stress, they came out to help, to guide, to lead. Their entire lives, what did they do? Their entire lives, they greatened the first three letters of Elokim, Aleph, Lamed, He, over the two letters of judgment. Where all these tzadikim, they have one thing in common. It was finding places where there is a decree, where there is judgment, where there is a problem, where, in other words, in a specific situation, the Mem Yud was leading, the two letters of Elokim was leading in a person's life, and the tzadikim would come in, and what would they do? They would override it by strengthening the Ele, the Aleph Lamed He. Where the tzaddikim's life, the tzaddikim's root, was always one thing. It was always strengthening the first three letters of kindness, strengthening the chesed, the beauty, the kindness within a person's life by strengthening those three letters, and as a result, diminishing the two letters of Din. And that is why, Rabotai, when we sit down and we celebrate hilloula to the tzaddikim, we see so many nisim niflaot, because we are reigniting the overriding of the three letters of kindness over the judgment. When naturally, if we awaken the tzaddik's presence and the tzaddik's merit, then we awaken what he stood for, which was strengthening the kindness over the judgment. Today, Baruch Hashem, we are on Sunday, the day of Chesed. Whereas we know every single day of the week there is a Sefirah. Sunday is the day of Chesed. And on top of that, we are celebrating the hilloula of the tzaddikim that greaten the Chesed within the world. Abotai, it is an opportunity, B'at Hashem, to light a candle for the tzaddik, to do a mitzvah for the tzaddik, to say a story of the tzaddik, to give tzedakah in the mirror to the tzaddik, to do whatever a person can do to strengthening both aspects of Chesed by strengthening the tzaddikim who did that their entire life, strengthening the Chesed. And if we do so, B'at Hashem, we will all reach in the merit of Abba Sali, in the merit of all the tzaddikim, to a place of shefa, of bacha, of atzlacha, of refuah, and we'll all reach to a place of personal redemption. Amen.
Amen.